Welcome to the ROTH Show.
Best thing about Tokyo, because I know it really well on my bicycle. Not a motorcycle, two-wheel bicycle. And you use a little bell instead of any other curse, because if you go, excuse me, or whatever, that's almost aggressive. My voice sounds like baritone, sounds like a saxophone, right? So anywhere we do that. And in Tokyo, you're supposed to ride on the sidewalk. For some inexplicable reason, you ride on the sidewalk even with people walking. People have children on the back in the carriages. There's not a helmet law. So frequently, you got little kids without helmets, and so if you're always going, excuse me, you learn that it's like white noise. Try to sing everything. So you get a little bell, ping, ting, and that gets the best attention, right? So all over the city. At night, I got jet lag, 5 in the morning. First thing at breakfast, get to know the whole area really, really well. Love it. I know the town when it's completely empty. I know it when it's absolutely full of people. People are great, but you know what the best thing is? No detergent. You never smell, and see, this is somehow connected to what we were discussing. There is no smell of detergent. There is no smell of scent strips, no lavender poop solver. That's an actual, I think that's a generic thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Fabric strips, fabric softeners, and the chemicals that go into this. And yes, every Scandinavian country has banned all of this a long time ago, or a finger grows in your stomach. They prove this, or a roll of scent strips and fabric softener actually develops in your stomach. Also, if you chew the skin around your fingers, because I'm talking about really funny things, sensitive subjects, that's what the Roth report is for, and you swallow the skin, then a hand grows in your stomach. Okay, watch. All right, that was me, I'm fucking with you. But in Tokyo, on the streets, no smell, no effluvia, no dryer wash. Are you a fan of all these things, Tom?
I'm a fan of no detergent smell, yes.
Really?
Yes.
Because you smell that. Most people think that's the smell of clean. That's the smell of chemicals. If you smelt it, you got dealt it. And you'll smell the same thing in cannabis, but it's all around us, just the general thing of, what are we smelling here? If you walk the streets of New York City, and I love the Big Apple, but we're going to have to squeeze out a little apple juice here, because you fucking stink. You smell a fucking detergent and dryer wash and fucking effluvia. Guys, we got to complain. And this is not ethnocentric. This is not a portal from immigration into the city. It could be. If it is, great. If it's not, great. You can't breathe that shit. Why is everybody coughing and sneezing and snotting like a stripper on a Sunday morning and wondering, gee, it must be a mystery? No, mystery is absence of information. And here's the information. Oh, Jesus, that has nothing to do with detergent, but I'm working hard for you, and we're going to need some detergent, and it better not fucking smell. I go to whole paycheck, or I insist that somebody else does, and then we both benefit because there's always some left in the bottle. And I tell you what, in Tokyo, nothing. You'll smell some perfume occasionally on the gals, and you're going to have some hair conditioner stuff from the CVS because, yeah, they have that in Japan. So all good, but it's a very, very different fragrance. I learned in the great outdoors, rural style, appreciate the smell of what does that tree smell like? Because that smells different than that one. And what does this critter smell like? I was encouraged that. Let's smell that rabbit. You smell that dog. Smell that dog's breath. That's, in a sense, that's sweet. In a sense, it's fucking horrible, but it's sweet. Why? Because it's love. So everywhere I go, like a Stevie Wonder style, and I say that with respect, I can tell you, identify things with smell. I can tell you what Kathmandu was like at midnight at the beginning of the weekend on Wednesday. See how I joined that together? Dave Roth, professional storyteller. First job I ever wanted to do was join the Peace Corps. Still do. Always remains. Those visuals of teaching people how to make wells, digging wells and ovens and solving irrigation things, and then separating tribesmen and ducking the occasional poison arrow. That shit was amazing. And the very first tattoos were called Peace Corps tattoos, because you got the little bands. If you went to Polynesia and you were dealing with Samoa, Fiji, Tonga, and this is way back in the early 60s, so you can imagine what's going on there in sense of tropical rural, try and say that in a stiff wind. No, they were pitching in all over the world. And the folks who came back with those tropical South Pacific kinds, it's the first time that we saw tattoos like that. The stories that you would have were amazing. You would have complete control over the whole room. If they said, yeah, Bobby just got back from Africa. Boom. In the 60s, that was amazing. Joey just came back from Fiji. In the early, who knew where the fuck that was? We thought it was a typographic error. What's the rest of the name? Really? Now, today, you tell that, well, clearly that's the best rugby team in history, and that's a 12-year-old who tells you that. 12-year-old from your part of Ohio. It's a new world out there. Let's tackle it. What was the first job you ever wanted, Tom?
Oh, first job I ever wanted?
Yeah, like go and get a job.
I wanted to be a race car driver. That's what I wanted as a job. But I went out and got a job. I was a paper boy.
At what age did you get the job?
Oh, it was probably 11,
okay.
10.
Eddie Van Halen had a paper route. I started shoveling shit at the local stable when I was about 13, okay? And you've had a steady job since, right?
Absolutely.
It was always a plan to at least have a job. You might not have gotten past that summer, but this is the summer of the forklift, for example. Okay. I wanted to drive an ambulance. And when I turned 17, I don't know why I chose that age. It just seemed to me like, okay, I've been driving for a year. Time to drive an ambulance. I'll qualify. And I went over here on Lake and Colorado Boulevard to Dolphin Ambulance. It's no longer there. Now it's a burger place. Well, there's a dark prose to that one. But I walked in. Imagine what I looked like. I was kind of Jeff Spicoli, Ridgemont High Dave, that phase. And I wasn't full of myself. I've been in the Scouts and then, so forth, traveled some, seen a little bit of the world in terms of the United States. My dad always took me with him when he did emergency stuff, high school football games, and he'd be the doctor for both sides. I remember running across the field for that injury, and then the same game running across the field for the other guy's injury, or sitting inside of the boxing matches over at the university. Met Floyd Patterson because he had the eye injury and all that kind of stuff. The whole emergency, gotta move, gotta make it happen. That kind of stress was really appealing. What a great challenge. And if you could whip it, what a strength. That ability to stay cool and go, okay, I think we'll take care of this. Why don't you sit down here for a second? And this is somebody who came in with their own hand in their other hand. I actually saw that once. Went to Dolphin Ambulance, and they said, oh, no, you can't work. You can't be here. You're too young. You got to have some background, et cetera. It's very early 70s. And I talked to my pop, who was a doctor, eye surgeon, whatever. And I says, yeah, I want to try and get into this. And they tell me I'm young. He said, let me show you something. And we got into his cars, early 70s, I forget what model. It's a small Mercedes-Benz, two-door, and it's convertible. And we drove up here to Villa in Los Robles. And there is a retirement home. Okay, I'll call it. It's not a home. It's a whole apartment complex, and it's called North Tower. Doesn't matter real name, North Tower. Every city has a North Tower. In the Bronx, it's the Edenwald projects, or the Edenwald Heaven, or the Marcus Garvey projects out the other way, Queens, Bed-Stuy, there's always that. North Tower, you never hear about it here in Pasadena. You hear about these kinds of homes. Here, I live in a tomb with a view, and gladly so. These are places where we tear out the trees and then name the streets after the trees that are gone. I live on Orange Grove. No, there are none here. And on Los Robles, you know what that means? It means the Robles. And on that street, there are no more Robles. But up this way, the farther you go and the smaller the houses get, okay, you'll find places like North Tower. It's beautiful up in Altadena. That's where I live. Even the smallest little, almost welfare-sized little tiny house, even if it's a fucking crack house, they don't say crack apartment, because in LA, no matter what, even on government, you can get a tiny little house, okay? And you head up there in Altadena, where my family started when we moved here. Pop started his practice. Okay, it's black, Spanish speaking, it's the neighborhood. I loved it. And it's still trees, there's still color up there, but then in other parts of the neighborhood, you get North Tower, just like the Edenwald projects. Every city, like Marcy, everybody has that. And my pop parked my skinny, anxious ass right across the street, but that was after the 3 blocks, because you're going there. You can smell it. You can see it. You can detergent. It's people. It's alive. It's the dirt under your fucking fingernails and people struggling. That's welfare, state assisted, Medicaid, folks in wheelchairs. Everything is ramps and everybody just struggling to not fucking die. And it's an airport. Ambulances here spend a lot of time up there. And I did like at all the places, those same buildings that I worked in Coney Island when I was doing my shifts and stuff like that. Callously so. Sometimes in the trucks, we call them airports because my own grandparents are just waiting to go. See you on the other side, Grandma. I say it without a trace of callous. We all know what's waiting on, okay? And we sat outside of a North Tower in an open convertible. And man, you feel like you're inside of an industrial laundry times a hospital times welfare state free clinic. And I've been inside of all of them. And he said to me, see that? Made me look it. And he said, those are my patients. And I do not get to choose my patients. You want some of this? Pop used to talk like that. And without a beat, I said, oh yeah.